Hello and welcome back to the Sports Brief Podcast. It is Friday, December 20th. What a week. Heck of a week. Really a lot to go through. Please stay with us. First thing we got to do is we really got to say hello to one of my good buddies who's actually a former college teammate and roommate from my first 2 years of college at PC, Mr. Treyson Drew. Treyson, thank you for joining me, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
A little bit of a side note. It is also Treyson's birthday. Happy birthday,
yes,
Big 23.
Thank you. Big 23 Jordan year, baby.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
Do you got any big plans for tonight? Like what's going to go down?
I got to go. Actually, we're going to go out to dinner here in a little bit. And then I'm going to go actually see my brother play some basketball in Millette, about 25 miles away, and watch him play. And then we're going to come back and see where the night takes us, I guess. It should be a good time, though. Yeah, it should be a good time, though.
Is he dunking on anybody yet? Like
yeah,
you were?
Actually, last game he sent me a video of him. He went up two-handed and put it down for him. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Junior year, so it's kind of cool to watch him. So I'm excited to see what he does tonight too. So
yeah, well, good luck to him. Let's see here. We got a lot of things to cover. I talk about Pro Bowl snubs, Vikings, and unfortunately Treyson cannot join us tonight. He is unbelievably busy. I mean, he's still in college. I mean, I guess I'm pretty happy for graduating.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah,
I guess I'll take his spot for the night, huh?
Yeah. We'll just let it happen for tonight. Anywho, once again, before we get started, we got to ask that everybody make sure you subscribe for weekly and great, I like to think great Vikings takes and Packers takes as well. Also, special guests we have on. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. Follow us on all social media platforms and get that in so you can get all of our hot takes, as we like to call them. Anywho, man, let's just get right into this. It's been a heck of a week.
Absolutely.
Kind of going into this, this week, it was kind of a tougher week because there really wasn't a lot that was going on. Obviously, playoffs. Like at the beginning of the week, there wasn't a lot going on, but with playoffs and everything, just kind of looking at now there's some kind of stuff. So first thing I actually want to talk about is some Pro Bowl snubs. And maybe we're a little bit of a disclaimer here. Treyson is a gigantic Dolphins fan. I don't know why. He's from South Dakota.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us actually why you're a Dolphins fan?
I can, yeah. Actually, when I was growing up, about, I would say probably 8, 9-ish around the time I started getting into football. They were the first team that I was watching, or maybe I was playing Madden or something. I chose them right away. I like their colors. Their colors was a big thing for me. I love the teal and orange. And then when I started watching football, that's the time Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, and Ricky Williams. And Ricky Williams, through everything, he's been one of my favorite guys to watch in the sport of football. So that's kind of how I fell in love. And I fell in love with 54, Zach Thomas, and 99, Jason Taylor. And then I stuck it out ever since. I mean, it's been a tough couple of years, but I've been a fan my entire life, and I don't plan on changing. It's kind of weird.
I have to give you a lot of props because I feel like Dolphins fans are they're a lot like Browns fans, and Vikings fans, because we haven't have a lot to cheer about in the last couple of years. We've been mainly heartbroken more than anything. But you know what? I have to give you guys props because you guys have absolutely been able to stick it out. And I mean, the Vikings, we don't go 0-16 every year. And I mean, we've been pretty good for the last 5 years. But I mean, life definitely has not gone our way, especially in the big moments. But you know what? I got to give you props.
Be a Dolphins fan till I die. That's what I can say. That's what I can say, I guess. Yeah.
I love that. Let's see here. So Pro Bowl guys, did you think anybody from the Dolphins should have made it? I'm not sure exactly. I didn't really take a look at the official AFC.
Well, honestly, no. There wasn't anything stand out to where that they did anything phenomenal. I mean, you have Jerome Baker playing inside. He's really good. I don't think he's Pro Bowl contender outside of any of the AFC teams. But their interior front seven, I think, needs a lot of work when it comes to it. The rookie with Wilkes playing in and out is good, but I don't know. It was just one of those. It's just a tough year at the beginning to, they didn't have anything that they wanted to set in stone, if that makes sense, to where they wanted to be a team that's going to compete in the AFC, and it really, really showed. And then after, making the trade for the first rounder from the Texans and getting rid of Tunsil, big change for them on the front line. And then, if you want to get right into it, with the Minka trade, I think and he is a Pro Bowler now. He's a starter at the nickel position for the Pro Bowl. that was a guy that you have as a building block for a defense. And he, as you can see, he's doing very well in Pittsburgh. He made the Pro Bowl, obviously. So, I mean, if you want to technically say that he was a Dolphin that made it, no, but he's a dude that played super well, but he just fit. I think he fits a lot better in that Steelers defense than what he was playing just nickel and a roamer outside in the Dolphins D. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think there was really. The closest thing that I could say is Devontae Parker came on late season. Mm-hmm. Like he decided, he turned it up a little bit late, but no, I don't think there's really much that you can. 3-11. I would say, what is their record now? 3-11. 11, is that what it is? 3-11. Yeah, I was like, is it? Are you supposed to be able to have a Pro Bowler come off of a 3-11 team? No,
probably not.
You have. No. I would say the best team in the league right now out of the AFC has 12 guys on their team. Has 12 Pro Bowlers. Like the Ravens deserve that because they are the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it was kind of something I was watching. With the Dolphins, I've been looking at it because I wanted Devontae Parker to come to the Vikings because they have not had any luck with drafting first-round wide receivers, i.e. Laquan Treadwell and Cordell Patterson, who actually has become a really good player, but not first-round pick by any means of the stretch of the imagination. I wanted Devontae Parker to come to the Minnesota Vikings because he was a college favorite target of Teddy Bridgewater, and that whole thing of with Teddy, which I think we can talk about a little bit later. But I think the thing with the Dolphins is, and this is something I've noticed, and I could be completely wrong, which I'm okay with. This is something I notice every time. I swear, you guys get like one or two building pieces, you trade them away. And just to try to get draft picks. And I get the whole rebuilding thing. The Vikings had to rebuild a couple years ago. They traded Percy Harvin. They got 3 first-round draft picks in which they, I believe in order they selected, I think it was Xavier Rhodes, Cordell Patterson, Sharif Floyd, or maybe there's one of them that's mixed up.
Those are still, I would say those are 3 guys that are still in the league right now,
all except Sharif Floyd.
Sharif Floyd isn't, yep, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say, besides 2. And Xavier Rhodes is top corner. Like, that's, I totally
This year he's been awful. This year he has been awful.
It's true though. It's true. But
it's tough. I've been in the position you guys are. And am I wrong when I say that you guys, every time you guys get maybe one player or two like that look like they can play a little bit, you trade them away? Is that a fair assumption?
I would assume so. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. Well, like even last year's first round pick with Minka, they just decided, they're ready to trade and try something new. Like I said, he didn't fit as well into the packages that they subbed him in at, and I don't think that is any reason as to why. Maybe if you have a guy like that, he legit is a starter in the Pro Bowl this year, and they traded him away. And Larry Tunsil, I'm pretty sure, is a Pro Bowler as well, and they traded him away at the beginning of the year too. Those are 2 guys that are Pro Bowlers that you traded away at the beginning. And I feel like they just don't know the front office doesn't know what they want to do with the team quite yet, which is as a fan is difficult because you want to see your team succeed, obviously, but it's tough because you are, like you said, you're trading away these guys that have value, that are good, and are you going to get another Pro Bowler with the first round pick that you traded for? That's tough in my opinion. I just don't know what they see, especially with the class after, at the beginning, it's like tanking for Tua, and it's like, well, I don't think that's going to be a very valued option right now. So I don't know what they're going to do yet. I think it'll be interesting to see who they decide that they're going to go with after, whenever the draft order is set in stone, but it'll just be interesting to see.
Yeah. And this is something I kind of was looking at. The Dolphins are number 32 in running the football right now, and that's kind of, I think that's indicative of offensive line, not knowing what you want to do offensively, and maybe player personnel too.
I would say hurt running backs is a big thing right now. Well, and again, they also traded Kenyon Drake too. I forgot about that for a second there, and that's another guy who, last week just had a breakout game for the Cardinals. And it's, I think. Ballage, I can't pronounce his last name. He's on IR. They have Ballage. I think their starting running back is his name. I believe is Peyton Laird. He's a white boy from no idea, but he's been balling out. He's been playing decent. I mean, it's just they're hurt. it's a tough look for them, and they found a way to win a couple games here and there, but I just don't know where they see in the near future what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Is it frustrating for you? Because I had one of my good buddies that worked at the Aberdeen American News, Mr. Charlie Hildebrand. He is a big Dolphins fan too, and he said one of the things that really got him was what's frustrating to him is that the Dolphins. This is him now, not me. I'm not hating on the Dolphins.
No.
He said that they are not bad enough to get a top 5 pick, and they're also not bad enough to get like a top 10 pick. So they're always bad and like never. They always like in that middle, like I think he said 11 to 17 range. They never get in the top 10 to try to maybe make their team better in any respect of the way. But here it's just kind of tough because it's just looking at this. There's a lot of different areas. Like, I'm not taking shots at the Dolphins again, but again, if you look at the entire roster here, there is at least one position in every position group I think that you can legitimately make a case for to either upgrade or draft here. Again, I said it already. Number 32 in running the football. Excuse me. Running backs. You always trade somebody away there. And Devontae Parker. I mean, come on, he's your wide receiver number 1. He's played really well this year. I'll definitely give credit where it's due. Defensively, I mean, Jerome Baker's going to be your middle linebacker. You have guys have Eric Rowe. But the thing I'm noticing, that's really glaring to me right now. It's the same stat, but it's on both sides of the football. It's number 1, it's sacks. You guys have 18 sacks this year, and I believe the Vikings are closing in on close to 50. So
yeah, I believe they're like, if they're not the worst, I think they're within the top 5 worst in the league of getting pressure on the quarterback. If my stats might not be right on par, but I believe that's where they sit.
I would say that's right, just from looking.
I would say what's their sacks allowed then on the opposite side of the ball?
On the opposite side, 54. So literally
2 different sides of the spectrum there. That's exactly it. And it's one of those things that they need help on both ends of the football, and you can't draft 30 or you can't draft 22 guys to start a new lineup. It's not possible, but finding guys during the draft is going to be important for them, especially on both sides of the ball. And I just don't, and in my opinion, I don't know if you want to go after a quarterback after you traded for Rosen and you have Fitzmagic playing now. Fitzmagic all the way. But is he good enough to win the Dolphins football games? That's where it stands. I don't know. I think it's, if you build around him, it's possible, but he's getting up there in age too. It's a young quarterback league nowadays, and you see all these guys that are our age out there playing and throwing for, making incredible plays on the offensive side of the ball. And then it's like there's like a teeter-totter. It's like you either have like young studs or you have like a very good generational quarterbacks that are very good at the age right now, and then you have like that mediocre one. That's where I feel like Fitzmagic falls into play. So like that's tough for them on the offensive side of the ball as well.
And we kind of talked about it before, and we'll get into draft picks a little bit later. But I mean, you guys, you have I would say, with Christian Wilkins, Devonta Parker, a couple of other players, it's not like all of you. I take back what I said earlier. It's not like all of them you don't need a player at every position, but I would say the vast majority of the important position, running back, quarterback, like some of your offensive line. I'm pretty sure now that you traded Laramie Tunsil away, you don't have a starting left tackle, and that's a cornerstone position. So
exactly.
I would say that you have some players there that I think if the right coach and the right GM comes in, they can make something happen. But at the same time, you guys also traded for Josh Rosen at the beginning of this year, and that was something that, looking at it, okay, is he going to be your, it's a question you have to ask yourself as a fan or maybe the GM or the coach. Is he going to be the starting quarterback? Because you don't trade for Josh Rosen, in my opinion, because he was a guy that was just coming out of, I believe it was Arizona, kind of had a rough go around with everything, and I had nothing but respect for him. But looking at that, I'm thinking, okay, are they going to make him their starting quarterback, make him learn behind Fitzmagic, maybe see what he can do? But he has a touchdown and 5 picks this year. So, again, it's not exactly all in him, and I totally understand that because, again, you guys have allowed 54 sacks, literally 3 times as much of the sacks that you guys have gotten. So that's a lot for any quarterback to be able to try to come back and, try to make something happen on offense. So, but as far as the Pro Bowl picks, I can see it's a pretty tough thing to be able to choose out of. Let's see here. Let's move to the Vikings because I actually I have a little bit of a rant, so I'm going to keep it G-rated the best I can.
That's fine.
I'm going to actually start out with a question I had for Tristan who couldn't make it, but I'll ask one of my really good friends. Do you think, right off the top of your head, not looking at any stats, looking at everything, do you think that Kirk Cousins should have made the Pro Bowl?
No.
Okay. And that has been the answer throughout the vast majority of this year. Well, Treyson, I hope you are sitting down.
I am. Believe me, I am.
So
I'll listen to this.
It was kind of something that I was dealing with this entire year. You guys can all look through all the listeners, go back and all of the episodes. I was extremely hard on Kirk Cousins, even when he had that 3-game win streak, blah, 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 blah. I was always really hard on Kirk Cousins because I thought, okay, great if he's going to throw 3 touchdowns against the Giants, but what happens when we go to play the Packers in week 16 at home on Monday night? That was really the question here. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Kirk Cousins is not a career Pro Bowler. We know that. Look at his career. Look what he's done in Washington, blah, blah. We know that. But let's look at some of the stuff he's, but just to go out and say, some of you people go out and say that he's not a Pro Bowler. I just got to go out and hit stuff by saying a couple of things here. Number one, so if Kirk Cousins should have made it, Aaron Rodgers should have. Let's look at some stats here. Aaron Rodgers has thrown, I believe right here, it's 24 touchdowns this year. And he has thrown the ball over 400 times. I'm gonna actually pull up the Vikings and Packer stats. I should have done that.
I'll keep Rodgers. If you said 24, I'll write that. And
okay.
400 attempts. I got that written down.
Let's see here. Okay, so and then on Kirk Cousins, on the flip side of that, there we go. Jeez, I'm sorry. I apologize. I keep Googling the wrong thing. Packers stats. Okay, looking at this. Okay. Aaron Rodgers has thrown he's thrown almost 500 times, 474 attempts. Ooh. To Kirk Cousins, 413 attempts. Now, Kirk Cousins has 25 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers has 24. Okay? Not necessarily a big jump there. 1 touchdown, not a big deal. The Vikings have the number 4 rated run game in the NFL and have almost thrown the ball 100 less times than the Packers. So if Kirk Cousins is already beating Aaron Rodgers in terms of touchdowns, and he's beating him in yards with less attempts, has a higher completion percentage, and I know what people are going to say, the run game, it really opens things up. It does.
It's true, though.
That, Treyson, it does open some things up, especially since he's the 4th rated play-action passer in the NFL. But let's look at some stuff here. Yes, it opens it up, but at the same time, that's 100 less times that Kirk Cousins is throwing that football. And the last time I checked, Treyson, do you know how long it's been since Dalvin Cook has had a 100-yard game?
Week 13?
2 months.
What? No.
Look it up. October 20th. Look it up right now. October 20th was the last time that Dalvin Cook technically had a 100-yard game. He's had some close games. He's had like 98 and 95. What? But he has not technically had a 100-yard rushing game in 2 months. Look it up.
Dang.
So here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. I love Dalvin Cook. He's absolutely a game-changing back. He's a tough back and everything. I think he's pretty close to leading the Vikings in rushing touchdowns this year. He has 13 and almost 1,200 yards rushing. Dalvin Cook hasn't ran for 100 yards in 2 months. Let's keep that in mind. I really got to reiterate that fact. So if Dalvin Cook hasn't ran for 100 yards in over 2 months, and Alexander Mattison, who has really had a strong year for the Vikings as a rookie, hasn't run for 100 yards yet in his career, hasn't even really got close, even though he's played well. Let's look at this. He went to a Dallas team, and Dallas almost let Dalvin Cook get 100. He had 97 and he had a touchdown. He had a good game. I'm not saying
it's really close to 100, but it's not. I get what you're saying.
It's technically not. Yes. So then he went to Denver. Okay, well, it was actually at home. And looking at this, the Vikings were down 20-0 at halftime. That takes running the football out. That means you got to open it up. You got to find something to do. And what did Kirk Cousins do? Mind you, you can look this up as well. One of the best defenses, I believe they're in the top 10 in all categories, the Denver Broncos, even though they are not that good. Their defense is top 10 in almost all all categories, excuse me. So for Kirk Cousins to be able to lead his team back down and have to score 3 touchdowns, more than 3 touchdowns because they kicked a field goal, for him to be able to do that kind of made me kind of spur a little boy. But I'm not about to give him any respect yet. I mean, it's the Vikings. You learn to expect the worst but hope for the best. That's
exactly. That's a team that you shouldn't have been down 20 points to at halftime.
Absolutely.
Not hating on the Broncos. It's not a team that they're right now. That's not a team that you should have been down 24 points or 20 points to at the beginning of the start of the second half.
Absolutely. And then you throw in the fact that the Vikings went to play in Seattle on Monday night. Let's just stop for a second right there. In Seattle, anytime you ever play in Seattle, that's a tough game. I don't care what team you are.
That's the 12th man in the league right there. Yep.
And my uncle went to a game there last year, and the Vikings even lost last year. I think it was either on Sunday or Monday night. And you know what? The Seattle Seahawks are a good football team, and I believe the Vikings were down at one time, Treyson, 34-17. And it was at the start of the fourth quarter.
It was something. Yep.
And I'm thinking it's over because now Kirk Cousins has to throw the football and get the Vikings back into the game. And you know what he did? By golly, he got him back into that football game. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's throwing a couple of touchdowns. This shows that this team isn't just a running the football team. We can sling it if we have to. That's not our MO. We're not the Packers. We're not Patrick Mahomes. We're not going to throw 500 or 600 times in a year. We're maybe going to throw 20 to 30 if we have to, but we're going to run the football down your throat. So right there, that showed me that he can make some stuff happen when he has to. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, there could be an argument to say that Aaron Rodgers, i.e., Chargers, i.e. The 49ers, when he had to play those tougher teams, those tougher defenses, hasn't made those plays.
I would say early in the year, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, and especially looking at this, Aaron Rodgers, they literally just almost lost to the Redskins. And the Vikings did too, but in terms of Aaron Rodgers being so much more of a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins in terms of career-wise, it shouldn't have been that close. You should have 40, and that's the Vikings did it too. I'm not necessarily talking crap there. I'm just saying that if you are Aaron Rodgers, you should have blown them out. You should have had a 5 touchdown day.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with portrayed with Aaron Rodgers is he's so good at he's one of the guys that you want to have the football in his hands at all times. He's that good of a player. This year he hasn't done that. He hasn't done that at all, and it's with your points. I can see why you would be upset that Cousins doesn't make a Pro Bowl over him.
I want to say that I'm not necessarily upset because I'm a Vikings fan and I realize that we can't have anything nice. I'm fully aware of that. I sleep okay with that at night because I know that. But my point is that I ask you, it's totally out of the question. Packers fans are freaking out. There's no question. Well, last time I checked, the last 2 seasons, Kirk Cousins has thrown more touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Kirk Cousins was, I believe, top 10 in most categories in the entire NFL, not just the NFC. So I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins deserves to go to the Pro Bowl every year, but this year, when you consider the fact, okay, the Packers are 11-3, the Vikings are 10-4 right now. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that one game is going to be the difference, he's won one more game. I'll say this. Kirk Cousins blew the game against the Packers. I will back that up. He threw a game-losing interception. It was a bonehead throw. Should not have made it. Yep. But to sit here and tell me that because of one game, this man doesn't deserve to go to the Pro Bowl after his running back, and we're such a running the football type team. Dalvin Cook hasn't ran for 100 yards. We already mentioned that. After all that, this man doesn't at least get a look, doesn't get the votes. Are you kidding me? Especially when you consider the fact that the Vikings defense, which was a number 1 defense 2 years ago, is now in the middle of the pack in the NFL. Kirk Cousins deserved to at least get a look to go to the Pro Bowl. I'm just going to go out and say it. Kirk Cousins deserved to go to the Pro Bowl this year. Ahead of Drew Brees, even. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Oh,
Drew Brees, let me finish. Let me finish. I know.
No.
Let me finish.
Colton, no. Not a chance. All right.
Okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to take that back because sometimes I say something and it kind of goes up. Okay, maybe
not a chance, man.
Maybe not Drew Brees because he has thrown 24 touchdown passes and he's missed 6 games.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say he's missed how many?
Yeah, I take that back, but he deserved to go over Aaron Rodgers. Okay, because of the fact that when you take into consideration, Dalvin Cook didn't have his running game for these last, or as good of an effective as a running game these last couple games. He hasn't had his defense most of the season. They've started to step up these last couple weeks. He didn't play he played without Adam Thielen for a whole month.
Yeah.
And when you consider the way he played against the Bears earlier in the season, I tweeted out, I said, I believe it was something along the lines of, I've had my heart broke a couple of times, and I've lost my best friend from high school when I was a sophomore in college. You were there for me. You were one of the two.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I remember that, and I remember everything else. I've been having my heart broken by a couple of girls, but I was never more hurt than when the Vikings lost that way to the Bears. That hurt. That hurt real bad because sitting here paying a quarterback that much and just looking at the way he played, I'm telling you, man, there was a lot of doubt in my mind. But the way he has turned it around, instead they were 2-2 at the one point. Now they are They've gone 8-2 since. He is leading most quarterbacks in most categories and just about every stat. And I'm looking at this. I just think at some point you got to give a man credit. I'm not saying he is in the MVP discussion. That is absolutely blasphemous, absurd. No. But to say that it's absolutely blasphemous. There's no way he deserves the Pro Bowl. Well, I just gave you.
Look at the stats. The only thing that I want to comment on after your rant that you had.
Go ahead.
Is at the end of the day, it is a popularity contest.
That's true.
With votings, and the one thing that Kirk Cousins has to his name through all of this is, the $84 million. This is what you paid it. Granted, especially after you've been saying, or that you went on your spiel about it, he's been playing fantastic football right now. They are one of the top. I honestly believe that they are one of the teams out of the NFC that can go to the Super Bowl this year. I truly believe that. As a fan of football, in the playoffs, running the football is key. And hopefully that Cook can come back after the shoulder, this little mishap that he's had. But if you have a run offense like that, that's how you win football games in the playoffs. And I think that they have a very good shot coming out of the NFC. But back to the Pro Bowl thing, it's still a popularity contest. Aaron Rodgers is going to get more votes because he's Aaron Rodgers. That's exactly it. And that's why, especially because of all the I wouldn't say bad publicity, but like the things that are negatively attached to Kirk Cousins is why he doesn't get votes from outside of somebody as a true fan as yourself, or as somebody who looks at every statistic like that. That in my opinion, that would be why, especially like, and I wouldn't even say, I would just use me as an example. I would have put Aaron Rodgers above Kirk Cousins in a Pro Bowl category voting. I had no idea that Kirk Cousins is doing better than him statistically wise, like that's then, and they have one of the top offenses in the entire league. So it's just like I said, it's just a publicity voting wise, and that's why he's not in there. In my opinion, I should say. Yeah,
I know that's the reason, but I mean, I just felt like I should give the man some love, especially after all season of me really harping on him, being hard on him, and just, I'm just going to come and say I love Kirk Cousins. I think he is a heck of a dude. He's a Christian. I have an immense amount of respect for the man. But just looking at this, I was like, you know what? I know I've been hard on him all season, just like everybody else has. I was going to give him a little bit of love. So I was like, you know what, man? He's really answered the bell, especially now. Beginning of the season, he deserved it a little bit. He was not playing well. But then he totally turned it around, and he has made, I wouldn't say the Vikings fans believers, because there's a downfall coming. We feel it. Like, as a Vikings fan, we've seen this movie before.
Can't get too high. It's just going to come back down on you guys.
We have seen this movie on repeat for like the last 20 years. We know what's happening. So I just know that right now, well, it's all good. I just want to tell him, I just want to say he's really, I think, silenced a lot of critics in the way. Now, the next thing is he has to go on a Monday night, which I already have the Vikings losing because they don't have Dalvin Cook. They don't have Alexander Madison. But I know a lot of people are saying, Mike Boone played very well. Mike Boone did play very well. Let me make that abundantly clear. Mike Boone played amazing for a guy that was, he's been great on special teams. He's really made a lot of plays for the Vikings. But at the end of the day, if you look at the talent gap between Mike Boone and Dalvin Cook, it's not a huge leap, but it's enough of a leap.
Absolutely. It's still a big gap for you to have your especially lose somebody like Dalvin Cook. Like that's going to be hard for any type of team to try and bounce back from. Good thing is it is an extended week till Monday night. At least they have that. They have an extra day. I think it'll be a good game though. I think it's gonna be a good one.
I do too, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I have made I've made a Lions game and I have made a Chicago Bears game. And when I went for the Bears game, I tried to get an autograph from Everson Griffin, and that didn't end up so well. And I went to the Bears game, the Lions game, and they ended up getting 10 sacks that day. And Danielle Hunter had himself a day. That was one of the few Pro Bowl selections that everybody got right. Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Cook, and I believe Harrison Smith. Those three deserve to go.
Absolutely.
I think not a lot of people know this either. Do you know who the number one Pro Football rated middle linebacker is, by chance?
Gonna guess is it gonna be Eric Kendricks?
It's Eric Kendricks. Hey!
I'm just gonna assume that if you were gonna say something, but again, didn't get in.
No, and again, it is a popularity contest, and I looked at actually the two linebackers before Eric Kendricks that made it.
Pretty sure it's Luke Kuechly and
Bobby Wagner.
And Bobby Wagner.
I'm looking at that right now.
Two fantastic middle linebackers that, again, popularity.
But also, I actually have to point out, they both had 20 to 30 more tackles than Eric Kendricks. So I can see why. That's the fact that he didn't make it. Like, I can see, like, okay, those are two all-pro linebackers. They actually...
Absolutely. They are all pros in themselves. They are all pros right there. Yeah. And that one's based on something other than popularity.
Yeah. So I was looking at that, I was like, I kind of got that. But I mean, this guy has been ever since there was when I was a Vikings, and I was a couple of years ago when I realized this, they were a middle linebacker away from having one of the best defenses in the NFL. And 2 years ago, they had the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, they were a middle linebacker away. Jasper Brinkley was just a thumper. He was awful in coverage. I'm sorry, but he just was awful. Eric Kendricks is the number one rated linebacker in PFF. For a reason. He can cover very well. He has the most pass deflections this year, the most out of his career, and I think the most out of any linebacker to ever play in the NFL since PFF started. I just read that, and I'm looking at those. I feel like some of those should translate to interceptions, but when it comes down to it, I would much rather have it hit the ground than anything. Like somehow it get tipped up or something. The Vikings luck, that's going 60 yards. The Vikings lose. So I would much rather have it that he bats it down. He's been one of the better linebackers there. So that was maybe my only other concern or maybe a complaint. I was going to say Stephon Diggs too, but I was like, Stephon Diggs only has like 5 touchdowns this year. He has 1,000 yards and 60 catches. He's been that deep threat for the Vikings. But since Adam Thielen went out, he's been kind of forced to, be number one. And he can be some games, but it really didn't go well for him. But let's see here what else we got. Did you want to say anything else about Kirk Cousins or anything?
No, I think I didn't say. I said what I thought was applicable towards that. I just knew that. After hearing what you had to say, it's definitely I wouldn't put me on a Kirk Cousins believer fan quite yet, but I believe that he should have got a little bit more looked at for something like that, especially after seeing the statistic wise of it. So,
also, let's see here. I also wanted to say Preston and Zadarius Smith for the Packers, who both I believe. I remember which one. I think it was Zadarius that had 11.5 sacks, and then Preston Smith had, I believe, 10. I'm not even looking this up at the top of my head. They both should have gotten probably looked at too. But Danielle Hunter did have 13.5, and he's the youngest player to ever reach 50 sacks. So
he's also names that you just said those two guys, and I had to think so hard as to I know who you're talking about now. You say Danielle Hunter, I instantly be like, oh. Vikings. Yeah. No, exactly.
Giant arms.
The huge dude, not 99, But, that's the thing. And I am a football fan, but, you are, there's other people just like me and there's other people like you. But, if you say Danielle Hunter, you say the other two, I can't even remember the names that you said. Yep. People are going to be Danielle Hunter. I'm going to vote for him. That's how it is.
Absolutely. And it's kind of funny. I was looking at I listen to the Purple for the Win podcast quite regularly, and I was looking at it. He said I believe he said something about Danielle Hunter being on the weak side. I believe he's on the left side, and Everson Griffin's on the right side. So a lot of times Griffin has a lot of those one-on-one matchups, and I absolutely agree. It's a fact. And a lot of times Danielle Hunter gets chipped and has to go against double teams and tight ends, and he makes them his son. So, I mean,
yes.
There's a reason this man has 13.5 sacks because he is that good. So they got that one right, and I'm really excited. He's only 24, 25, so I'm really hoping he gives, wow, I can't even think of the defensive end, White, for the Packers, the 200 sacks guy, the leading sack.
Reggie White. Jeez. I was like, who are you talking about? Reggie White?
Yeah, Reggie White.
I was like, I think of him more as playing for the Eagles, but I was like, talking about Reggie White there, big guy. I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Quick brains.
That was bad. That was really bad. This is a sports podcast. I didn't know who Reggie White was. No, here's my thing. I think he could catch him. It's going to be pretty tough, though. That's a subject for another.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's see here. We actually had some other news. Josh Gordon has been suspended indefinitely due to... And the thing is with this, it's kind of, I'm not going to say I don't think he's not necessarily a guy that I would think of as a troublemaker in the NFL. Yes, he's had obviously his problems with the weed, but he's not like a locker room problem. Like I haven't noticed anything. So with this, I wouldn't say it's an addiction, but I would maybe say that there's maybe a problem. I've dealt with addiction. Both my parents were alcoholics. They both got sober, and I've dealt with that. And I look at this, and I wish him nothing but the best. Especially looking at this, because I think this is like, I don't remember the exact number, like 4 or 5 times. It's been enough.
I think it's like 5 or 6 that he's been to where that he's infracted the league's rules and regulations based on his what's the word? You know what I meant. I just couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Just that he's broken the regulations, I think 5 or 6 times for their substance abuse. That's what it is. Substance abuse program, or the program. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks to see a guy such a talent too.
Oh, absolutely.
It sucks to see that happen. And I was gonna say this though. When you're talking about somebody in the locker room or whatever, did you ever hear anything bad about his time at in New England at all? See, and that would be my if Bill Belichick's locker room, can't help a guy through his problems and his addictions, and there's not. But I'm guessing that there's not very much that you can do besides getting actual help. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's when I heard that he was going to the Patriots, oh, he's gonna turn his entire life around. He's gonna be on the Brady treatment,
I thought that too.
And it's that's a guy that everybody wants to see him succeed because he's so good. He wasn't so good. He's so good still, And it's watching a talent like that, just have his problems off the field really kind of hurts to see him, hurts to see.
It's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a shame. It really is a shame. As soon as especially because if you can't, the Patriot mentality in that way, and in any type of locker room, I feel like that's the one that you want to go to.
Yeah.
Out of the entire league, that would be a place that you want to, because you're going to get so better. You're going to be, and I found that very hard to believe that he's still having his problems, and I wish him the best, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I was just sitting there. I mean, I think it was back. He went through the supplemental draft, I believe, and I remember kind of sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, this guy, he was really it's really rare. I would say since Brian Bosworth, there was really nobody that's been highly as touted as Josh Gordon since in the supplemental draft. That is. So I also had Brian Bosworth's haircut in college. Big mistake. I don't recommend. That was before the mullet. Yeah, it wasn't
before the mullet.
But I just looking at this. I watching his speed, watching how he caught the football. I believe he even had a 1,000-yard season in Cleveland when I think it was Brandon Whedon as his quarterback.
I think it was his second year in the league, or it might have been his second or third. I believe he had 1,000 yards receiving. It'd been, or if not, it'd been really, really close. Had it been close.
Yeah, and this guy.
That's the year that you heard. That's the year that you think Josh Gordon. That's the year that you think of. He has nothing. The Browns are terrible. That's close to the time that they're going 0-16. That's how bad of a team they were. And they got this phenomenal dude in Josh Gordon. It's crazy.
Yeah. He had over 1,600 receiving yards. This is when Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator for him. And keep in mind, Treyson, he had 1,600 receiving yards in 14 games. That is unheard
Quick math.
of.
Quick math. I was going to say quick math. How much is that? 120 yards a game?
Yeah.
Something like
Averaging,
that?
I'm okay, I would understand if a guy has 16 games, 160 yards, 1,600 yards, 100 yards a game. That's pretty impressive. But this guy did it in what they played in the 70s or 80s. He did it in 14 games. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, can you imagine what that guy would do if he had an actual elite quarterback like Tom Brady when he was younger? If he had a good defense, he had an offensive line. Holy cow. And he's 6'3", 220. He can run. I'm just this, like you said, I wish him nothing but the best. But man, to get 1,600 receiving yards and only, like you said, his second year in the NFL, absolutely unheard of. And he did it with Jason Campbell and Brandon Whedon.
That's what it was, Jason Campbell. I knew it wasn't Whedon right away, but I was Jason. I was Jason Campbell. I didn't.
And then it was also Brian
Hoyer. Say Terrell Pryor. I was gonna say Hoyer too. I didn't know if it was Pryor, but
it was Jason Campbell, Brandon Whedon, Brian Hoyer. What? How do you break almost that good of a season with that? I was wow, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
So, And I'm just sitting here thinking, obviously I wish him nothing but the best, but just at the same point, you got to realize, he's got some problems. And a wide receiver for the Vikings, Chris Carter actually had some problems with weed, and he had some drug problems and alcohol problems. And I remember, he's a guy I really respect because there's a difference in my experience and everything. I've found that people who are more accountable and put the blame on themselves and actually try to find, and not pushing the blame off on anybody else.
Yeah,
they are the ones that are more likely to make something happen, more likely to make a change in their life. And Chris Carter is absolutely one of those guys. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, is Josh Gordon truly making a change in his life? I don't know, and I hope he does. But the history, i.e. this example, him getting busted again, says no. And it's a travesty because he is immensely talented, as we noted before, but also he's still relatively pretty young. Like, he's not 35. Yeah. He's 28 years old, and he probably, he's suspended indefinitely. I don't know if that means he's entirely kicked out of the NFL, but I would say that, especially.
I think it's for the season.
Yeah.
For sure, and then I don't know how it'll work after that.
He missed the 15 and 16 season because of, I believe, of weed as well. So I'm really hoping, I think he's got to do a little bit of soul searching. I'm by no means a perfect human being. I have my
absolutely
comings, but I'm just saying, as a human being that makes my own mistakes, I just wish and hope that he is able to go through and find, something that makes him want to change. Makes it goes a little bit, does a little bit of soul searching, but wish him nothing but the best and all of that. Did you want to add anything, big guy?
No, I think we pretty well covered that one. So okay. I'm good with that.
Let's go into one of our final things we're going to talk about. And this is something I feel like is pretty big. The Chiefs defense is arguably their Achilles heel this year. Like, they're not the worst defense in the NFL, but when the Chiefs have an opportunity to win a football game and, and all they need to do is make a defensive stop. If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm sweating a little bit. Like, if I'm Maurice, I am sweating. Because if Patrick Mahomes is on the field, I'm like, okay, we got this. He's the winning MVP. His dude's got a rocket of an arm. We're good. If that defense is on the field, I am breathing a little hard. I might need to get an inhaler because of the fact of what they've been doing. Now, again, they're not the worst defense in the NFL.
No. But they're not in the top 5 or top 10 though either.
Yes, and going into the point of games on the line, championship game, do I think they can make a stop? Right now, I think no, and I think Terrell Suggs helps them a little bit from a pressure standpoint, putting pressure on the quarterback. But I don't know that this is a big enough move, really, to make them contenders. Like I said, they've got some good corners, they've got some good playmakers, but the entire defense as a whole, I don't think, even with this move, is good enough right now to make
the one. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to add, I think the fact that it's going to take pressure off of Frank Clark on the other end. I think that's going to be a big thing, is like, third and 8, 3rd and 9 situations where he can pin his ear back and go. And the same thing with Terrell Suggs on the other side, or, running any type of blitz with a shift or a stun or anything, bringing them both off the same side. I don't know how they're going to do it quite yet, but I also think that personally, having a guy like Terrell Suggs in your locker room or on your team improves it immensely. He's a legend. He is a legend of a human being. He's a legend of a football player. First ballot Hall of Famer, 100%, no doubt about it. And he's still got his go about him right now. He still wants a chance. And I think he's got a good shot here. I just don't know exactly what you said, how much of an impact it'll be. I think it's 100% towards the right way, positive for them, and that they have a leader out there for sure. Like, I think that's what it comes down to, is they just got themselves a leader on the field as well. Yeah, absolutely. And did you think? I mean, looking at this, and if I'm Andy Reid, who is a guy that has lost in the playoffs a lot, and I mean, I'm a Vikings fan, I would just happy to be in the playoffs, but I mean, I'm looking at this. If I'm a guy that's kind of had my rough go around in the playoffs and everything, I would really like to keep Patrick Mahomes on the field. So, and by doing that, you need to make some defensive stops, or you need to get turnovers. And the Chiefs, turnover differential, they're plus 10 in interceptions with fumbles. I'm actually looking it up right now. They're plus 7 on the turnover ratio.
DLO. So I don't know. I think that in order for the Chiefs defense, the entire Chiefs team to take a step forward this year, and Andy Reid hopefully to be able to go to another Super Bowl, maybe one, that would be cool.
That'd be cool.
I think that the defense has got to make some stops. What do you think about the Chiefs' chances? I mean, is it? It's not too far fetched. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Absolutely, it's just hard because that AFC is so competitive. The AFC is going to be so interesting to watch come playoff time. And I personally believe that they do have a shot, just because of Patrick Mahomes and the way that he plays football.
Yeah,
you keep a guy like or with Tyreek Hill, just a playmaker on the side of the football field. Like he touches the ball, he makes one person miss, he is taking it to the house, and he's going to outrun every single person on the field. And I think that it's just the AFC is just so stacked. The Ravens, the Patriots, the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Three of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't put Tom Brady up that high. He is the GOAT, but he still has the chance to still win football games at his age. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't bet my entire life savings on it, but it's very, very, very possible. I think that the Chiefs have a chance.
Oh, yeah. And also, you brought up Tom Brady being the GOAT. That raises the question. What about this whole Spygate or whatever thing? Do you think – I mean, I thought 3 or 4 times of being busted. I mean, you watched The Office, and I brought this up on the last show. Fool me once, strike once. Fool me twice, strike 3. Yeah. From Michael Scott. So I'm saying, okay, if this happens 3 or 4 times, there's got to be something up. What was your take on that?
I personally I heard about it, didn't look much into it, but I don't think that it's anything like it has to do with something in that front office that they have more knowledge and intelligence than I do. And so, if it's just why put yourself in that situation, in my opinion, and I think that's what it comes down to. And that's really all I can talk on. And I mean, I just don't think don't put yourself in that situation. You're a winning organization, don't have your feet in something like that,
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Let's see here. Kind of close the show out. Excuse me. Let's kind of talk about some draft picks. I'll actually start with the Vikings. The segment here is really just talking about draft picks that have really played well or maybe been more worth the draft pick. Going into the draft this year, the Vikings had a huge need to get an offensive line. They needed help on the inside. They had one of the worst run games in the NFL last year. Now they're number 4 in running the football, and I mean, obviously they can run the football. We've said that multiple times, but it's the fact that the pass protection has also improved immensely. But part of that is also because of the play action and them having to honor the run and everything. But looking at all this and having Cousins do rollout passes has also been very helpful. But me looking at this, the first round draft pick, Garrett Bradbury, the center out of NC State, has absolutely balled out. I think it's time for me to give some of these draft picks some love. NC State, Garrett Bradbury has been absolutely amazing this year. From when we first drafted him, I think he had to go first couple of weeks in the NFL were not great. He literally had like a 39 grade in the NFL. So I'm like, yeah. I mean, but then again, it's a whole different ballgame. We know that. I mean, it's the NFL. Absolutely. It's the highest thing in football. I remember though that I think the first couple of weeks he had Grady Jarrett, who is a very, very underrated defensive tackle, and then Kenny Clark, who is playing outstanding right now. And now he's at I believe about a 55 PFF grade. He is immensely improved. I think he's a big reason as to why the running game and the screen game for the Vikings has just
working so well.
Yeah, and so I would kind of, I think that he has to be number 1 because number 1 he's the first round draft pick, and number 2 he's really starting to show that he has panned out. And then also I really kind of looking at I really loved the Vikings draft picks this year. Like I felt like they've gotten at least 5 or 6 dudes that might be able to do something with it, or maybe just all together might be able to really contribute for the Vikings. The second one, Irv Smith Jr., outstanding tight end for the Vikings.
Absolutely.
And you came from Alabama, won a national championship in, I believe, 2017. A guy that he's fast. Like, you really have to watch out. Yeah. A guy obviously he's only 6'2", but he's 240 pounds and he can fly. So he's been absolutely a big find for the Vikings this year. He scored a touchdown against Chargers last week. Alexander Madison. I've said it multiple times on the show. At first, I thought he was going to be a bust because, I mean, there was a lot. Looking at him, he looked a little too slow in some cases, running only a 4.6 40 as a running back. That's kind of, you're usually in the NFL, you're probably looking for a 4.40 guy or maybe a little bit slower. 4.5, 4.4, 4.3 is perfect. Like, wow. And Madison was a 4.6 guy. And I remember thinking, okay, this guy's a bust. There's no way. He has absolutely been the opposite of a bust, has ran the ball very well. Drew Samia, offensive guard for the Vikings, really hasn't. I'm just running through all the draft picks right here, right now. Hasn't really stepped on the. I don't think he's even stepped on the field this year, but he made the roster. He's actually. I was a big fan of him in training camp and everything. I'm really hoping because the Vikings have at left guard they have Pat Elflein, who, despite much scrutiny by myself. And probably a lot of other Vikings fans for holding calls, false start, and all that jazz, and maybe just overall missed blocking assignments. He has really turned it around this year too. So I'm hoping maybe that kind of continues. But Drew Samia, a guy that I saw at right guard, Josh Klein, the Vikings brought him in on a 2-year, I think it was a $15-some-odd million deal or whatever. He was a big find because he's actually played very well this year too. But Drew Samia, I believe, is going to be that cornerstone right guard, hopefully, because he's mean, he's nasty. He went to Oklahoma last year. They had the best offensive line of football last year.
Absolutely.
Cameron Smith, linebacker out of USC, been kind of a bust. I'm just going to go on here, the guys that have actually made an impact. Armin Watts, he had that tipped pass that Anthony Harris returned for a touchdown a couple weeks ago against the Seahawks. That was crazy. Like, I was like, wow. So Armin Watts just came in and played well. And then the Vikings also brought up Oli Uda. This guy has one of the hardest names. I'm not even going to try to say his name. It's Oli Sumakar. I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna.
Close. I'll give you an A for effort on that one, buddy.
I appreciate
an A for effort on that.
I do appreciate it because this name is absolutely unbelievable. But he made the roster because I think the Vikings need help at tackle sometimes. Chris Boyd has stepped up on special teams, done a nice thing for the Vikings. And then Olabisi Johnson. I gotta say, this guy. 7th round draft pick wide receiver. Usually you think a guy maybe that makes a special teams or does something.
Practice squad.
Yeah, something. This guy has over 20 catches. He's got, I believe, 2 or 3 touchdowns this year. He is absolutely. He's not like a world beater off like athletic. Well, I mean, he's better than you and me, Treyson. That's not very helpful.
Well, that doesn't take much.
Yeah, that doesn't take much. Here. And the thing is, looking at this guy, I didn't really know what he was going to do, but. He has, let's see here. He has 27 catches, 254 yards, and 3 teddies. Honestly, those are like wide receiver 3 numbers. So to get that guy in the 7th round, almost undrafted, great value. And then the Vikings also got long snapper Austin Cutting. So I was ecstatic with the Vikings draft class this year. From top to bottom, you've got guys that can either start or contribute right away. And I would say this is one of Rick Spielman's better drafts. What about the Dolphins draft? And I actually want, before you get into this, I want to say I wanted the Vikings to get Christian Wilkins so bad because we needed another defensive tackle, and he has been absolutely tearing it up.
Yes, he's been playing super well, and I think that just coming off of that Clemson defense alone just makes him, I shouldn't say that much better, but like he's so good. He's playing very well for him. And I mean it's just difficult because he plays D tackle. You don't get that much love as D tackle in the league, but he plays so phenomenally. He stops the run very well. He gets some good pressure on the quarterback as well. And I think that's it's a big reason as to why the defense doesn't allow as many points as they do, but he does very well for the inside on the defensive line.
He only has 1 sack, but at the same time, he's got almost a 63 grade as a rookie in PFF, which is kind of unheard of. Like that's actually really good.
That's really good.
Yeah, 50 tackles in his rookie season, and he's been eaten this year. So I think he's been a big find for you guys. What about the rest of you guys in your draft class? Have you noticed anybody that's really stuck out?
You want to know the honest truth? I don't really get to watch them as often as I can because I work on Sundays. But I can't even think of as to look up for me where when Laird was drafted for him, because I know I'm pretty positive that he's a rookie this year. Laird, it's this running back.
Laird. Oh, the running back.
Yeah, the running back.
Yeah. I'm looking at it.
Sorry, guys, I don't have my computer next to me. It kind of wasn't prepared as I should have been.
Not at all. Let's see here.
Pull up their draft class for me.
I don't even know if he was drafted to be.
I don't know if he was either. He might not.
I think he was undrafted.
Undrafted.
It's looking like he was undrafted.
And then he's starting for him right now.
Yeah,
Think about that. Yeah.
Guy that's coming in and talk about I love to hear those stories about guys.
And say he played. Yep, I was gonna say exactly that. He played. I watched a little bit of him in the preseason. He got a couple carries, and then he scored for him, I believe, in like the last week, or he had a couple like very good games for him. And I was like, I don't have no idea who this guy is, like it was cool to see that. He's playing really. He has to. I mean, he has to play decent at this rate. They're kind of on slim to none there. And I guess, to be honest with you, I don't know the next after they got Wilkins. I can't think of who their second round was.
That's fine. I'm kind of looking at this too. Myles Gaskin, a guy you guys actually drafted out of Washington, and it looks like the 7th round, 234th overall. He hasn't been but I think he's really just started to play recently because of your injuries.
With the injuries, yep.
So I mean, hey. And when you get those later round guys that actually come in and contribute, that's something special because I think it makes a good story, but also the fact that you talk about bang for your buck, like those guys that maybe make $500,000 in a year,
and then they ball out for you.
Yeah, and then you got to give them a huge contract. The Vikings have so many huge contracts that's not even good. And then now they've probably got realistically a couple of guys, Armin Watts, just off the top of my head, Olabisi Johnson, guys that they're probably going to have to re-sign to bigger deals. I'm a little shaky. A little bit as a Vikings fan, because unless Spielman can win the lottery, I don't know if the Vikings are going to do it.
You never know. I like it, but going back to, I think I'm excited to see how they're going to do this year with their couple first rounders that they have off the table at the beginning of the year. So I think that they're in a decent spot. I just don't know where you go from here. I mean, it's tough as a fan to watch, but it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do and whatnot.
Yeah. I think that's all I got for tonight. First off, man, I don't know if I told everybody this. It's your birthday. First of all, again, happy birthday, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
I hope you have a great night. Don't go out drinking too much because I really don't have to make a 3-hour trip to come get you.
You don't have to come bail me out. I promise. I should be okay.
Okay. You're just kind of wrapping this show up. Just please, guys, remember to follow us on all social media. Subscribe so that way you guys get
hit that subscribe button for my guy Colton.
Hit it, please.
He's killing it out here. Follow us all on that social media grind.
Yes, everything. Follow Tristan too. Follow Tristan.
Oh yeah, and Tristan.
And Tristan and Treyson as well too. So just kind of wrapping this whole thing. Also, leave us some comments. Let's go kind of a question here. Best Christmas gift you've ever gotten. Let's do that for the question for this week.
I like
best
that.
Christmas.
I like that.
Real quick, best Christmas gift you ever got, or is that too kind of a hard of a question?
Right top of my head, I got a PlayStation 2 when I was like, oh no, I got to date myself. How old would we have been? 10 or 11?
Okay.
12, that's around a good there. Something. I think something like that, and it was just changed me forever. I've loved video games, so it's been, that's definitely what got me on the grind, I would say. So.
Let's see. Best gift for me. Oh, geez. I was always in love with football. I think my mom got me shoulder pads, which I actually discovered in like November because my brother, she put them in his trunk, and it was like an old car we never drove. And I found them, and he was supposed to hide them. So I mean, I guess I'm a detective or something because I got to find Christmas present later. But I think it was shoulder pads or something.
That's sweet.
Also, I actually have to say this too before we head out. Best gift I think I've actually ever gotten, other than the shoulder pads, a pair of slippers my girlfriend got me. I think slippers are underrated too.
Dude, I'm wearing slippers right now. Not even a joke. In my house, I'm wearing slippers.
Slippers are underrated. That's
hilarious.
Two-part question. Best Christmas gift and our slippers underrated. There's a two-part question.
I like it.
So,
thank you again for having me, Colton. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Oh yeah, we would love having you on, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. I would say anytime. I'll come back on no matter what. I love you, big guy.
I love you too. Let's kind of get this thing rolling. Once again, I hope everybody has a great week and a Merry Christmas. We'll be back next week. Thank you all for joining us.